A very good morning to all of you, ladies and gentlemen. You are most welcome to the 2021 Annual Open Forum for members of the Access Pension Plan. The Access Pension Plan and this forum is brought to you by Access Pension Trust. My name is Jeff Asmeni, and I'm happy to be your MC for this open forum. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to begin with an opening prayer. Please help me welcome Emmanuel to say the opening prayer for us. A round of applause for him, please.
Good morning to everyone. Shall we humbly close our eyes and pray? Father, we thank you, we bless you for this morning, for the gift of life. We commit this open forum into your hands, oh God. We pray that your presence will be with us. Come and take absolute control over every session of this program, that at the end we'll have every cause to say thank you. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you very much. Please let's put our hands together for Emmanuel once again. And again, my name is Jeff. I'll be your MC for this open forum. Let me, on behalf of the organizers and trustees of the open forum, apologize to you strongly for starting behind time. We would therefore go straight to the program for the day. Ladies and gentlemen, the Access Pension Plan is the largest personal pension plan in Ghana currently. And so here at Access, we are very honored to be administrators of the scheme that you belong to. This is a platform that we create in order that we will report to you. And this is the second open forum we are having for you, the members of the scheme. For those of you joining us for the first time, we say we are happy that you are being able to join us. For those of you who are joining us for the second time since last year, I want to say welcome once again, and we look forward to your active participation. We would like to begin with an opening remarks and an introduction of trustees to you, the members. And I would like to welcome the Chief Executive Officer here at Access Pension Trust to do that. Please put your hands together for Mr. Efriye Owari.
Good morning. It's my pleasure to welcome you to this year's annual open forum. This is actually the third in the series, and it goes to demonstrate our commitment to building a culture of transparency, openness, and accountability. We do this in recognition of the fact that for most of you, the personal pension scheme is probably the biggest investment or financial investment you are doing. And so those of us who are in trust business must prove ourselves accountable to earn your trust. And so this morning, we have assembled the men and women who have been taking decisions regarding the management of your funds to render accounts of their stewardship. And so I would like to start by introducing to you the members of the Board of Trustees. To my immediate right is Mr. Ato Boateng. Ato Boateng is our independent trustee. The gentleman next to him is Mr. Matthew Money. Matthew is the CFO of Access. He also doubles as a trustee of the scheme. Next to Matthew is our chair, Mr. Robert Benning. Robert has been chairing this board over the last 3 years. Robert Benning. The lady on the high table is the board secretary and the head of legal department of Access, Mrs. Louisa Siam. And after Louisa is a representative of John K. and Associates, the audit firm of the scheme, Mr. Gilbert Lomufio. So we are expecting 2 other members of the Board of Trustees to join. When they come, they will be duly introduced. So again, members, this forum is designed to empower you, to give you all the information you need, to enable you understand what exactly has gone into our decision making. And so feel free, ask questions, and answers will be duly provided. Thank you very much. Oh, sorry. Let me also introduce, in fact, invite to the high table Mr. Alvin Abafoli. Alvin represents Zenith Bank, the custodian of the scheme. Alvin, kindly take your seat at the high table. All right, so another member-nominated trustee has just taken her seat. It's my pleasure, ladies and gentlemen, to introduce Dorcas Okansi. Dorcas. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Efriye. Please let's put our hands together for Mr. Efriye Oware. He is the Chief Executive Officer here at Axis Pension Trust. Ladies and gentlemen, like you have been told and you are already aware, this is the second annual open forum for members of the Axis Pension Plan. Our last and first one a year ago, you gave us some assignments and we are supposed to report to you on that. And so for the matters arising, which is our first item on the bill, I would invite the responsible officers to come and speak to them. Just like Efriye mentioned earlier, please note that this is a forum that has been created for us to report to you and also take feedback from you. And so I would encourage you to put up any question or comments that you may have on the respective presentations and reports that will be presented to you in order that we can have our officers and presenters respond to you on that accordingly. You can do so directly by typing in your question and we will respond to you either online or we'll call our panelists to speak on your question. The first to give us a response with regards to matters arising from our last open forum would be to provide details on our new digital platform, also give us an update on insurance cover, and also beneficiary capture project that we embarked on. Ladies and gentlemen, to help us do this is the General Manager here at Axis Pension Trust, Pa Kofi Ankoma.
Thank you very much, Jeff, and good morning to you, ladies and gentlemen. We at Axis are indeed proud to have you participate in this year's Open Forum. As rightly mentioned by Jeff, I'll be updating you on the life insurance cover, beneficiary capture, and then the new digital platforms. On the life insurance cover, I think during our maiden edition of this forum, we mentioned to you that we are looking at enhancing, and I think that came from feedback we got from you, our clients, to enhance our pension schemes beyond what is already provided across the market. What can we do more to enhance the pension scheme? So in July of last year, we were proud as a business and as a fund to add on the life insurance cover. This life insurance cover gives members a free life cover of 5,000 Ghana cedis in the instance of death or medical incapacitation. Beyond this, members have the option of also enhancing this cover beyond the minimum basic 5,000 cedis cover. So if you are there, you should know this, and you are part of this open forum, you should know that in the instance, whilst you continue to save towards your retirement, if it should happen to be past medical retirement, indeed, the fund is happy to provide you a sum assured of 5,000 cedis as life insurance cover. www.axispension.com. Once you get to axispension.com, thank you, Jeff. Once you are on the website, you opt for the member login, enter your details, and log on. Once you are logged on, you have the option to update your beneficiaries. If your beneficiaries are not captured in or already, what you can do is you can set up the beneficiaries. If they are captured, you also have the option to update and change what you have on record. Finally, on our digital platforms, we are very happy to introduce. I think last year we mentioned we're in the pipelines with our USSD shortcode. So for those of us who have young phones or unsophisticated phones, we can now dial 1860 star 1860 hash. 18 for when you start working, 60 for when you retire. I don't think you can forget. So star 1860 hash. Some people say star 1860. It confuses me. I say star 1860 hash. So just dial star 1860 hash. You can have access to starting a pension account to all the way to withdrawing from your pension account. And also you can refer somebody who you think would be very interested in the product, or you want to have some questions answered. All that is available on just dialing star 1860 hash. This same platform is replicated on WhatsApp. So our chatbot, Afrakoma, is on WhatsApp and Telegram. Just say hello or hi to Afrakoma, and you would be granted the necessary access. We've also gone ahead to enhance our contributions collections. Hitherto, we had challenges with collecting from a number of you. We listened to you. You requested that we brought on Momo collections. We are happy to say that our star 1860 option also gives you direct access to contribute directly to your personal pension scheme on USSD. We have also gone ahead to set up collections accounts as well with various banks to ensure that going forward all your collections and benefit payment issues are resolved so that you don't have problems transacting with us. On that note, I say thank you very much and enjoy the rest of the program.
Thank you very much, Pakofi. Pakofi is the general manager here at Axis Pension Trust. Another update that we have for you should be on our exposure to investment with Edendale. And so from last year, we did report to you some exposures that we have. And so to help us with the update from that, I would like to invite the Chief Investment Officer here at Axis Pension, Nanari Afe-Boama. Please put your hands together for him.
Good morning to the scheme members. So for Edendale, discussion is still ongoing to recover the investment we have with them. Given our Board of Trustees' commitment to recover the amount invested in Edendale, the board have reached an agreement with a third party who has agreed to buy the Edendale exposure from the scheme. The third party would then subsequently pursue recovery with Edendale. In this regard, the Axis Pension Plan has already received the first installment, with the second and third to be paid in October this year and February next year, respectively. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Nanari Afe. Nanari Afe is the Chief Investment Officer here at Axis Pension Trust. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to continue with our program, and as I've said, we are happy to take any question that you may have. And so kindly put down any question that you may have during the various presentations, or any question that you have and you want to ask any of us here. We would respond to it accordingly. We would like to continue with a remarks or a presentation from the Board of Trustees. This will be a report on our 2020. This will be a trustee report for our year 2020. And to do this, or to present this report, is the Chairman of the Board of Trustees, Mr. Robert Benin. A round of applause for him, please.
Good morning and welcome to the third Open Forum. We're delighted that you've taken time to join us today so we can render to you account of our stewardship as a board of trustees for the Access Pension Plan. It's a great delight that I do this on behalf of the board of trustees. And so I present to you the Access Pension Plan Scheme Annual Report for the year ended 31st December 2020. Over the past year, many lives and livelihoods have been affected by the global pandemic, the scale of which has not been experienced since the Spanish flu pandemic over a century ago. This pandemic has exacted a horrific human toll and has upended our way of life permanently. Our heartfelt prayers go out to the individuals and our clients who have lost loved ones, to workers in industry who have been impacted negatively. We also send our sincerest appreciation to health workers and frontline responders who sacrifice everything in the face of limited resources to ensure that we all prevail over COVID-19. Access Pension Trust has a fiduciary responsibility to our clients and scheme members, helping them to invest for their long-term goals. The money we manage is the retirement benefit of beneficiaries across multiple industries. Their money we manage, not on their behalf, and to do right by them in the management of This is always an opportunity to take account of our stewardship of your scheme and also highlight the virtue of long-term investment. This is critical to building sustainable wealth for retirement. Most investors felt that. Thank you very much. Most investors felt that the beginning of 2020 was a time of clarity. The economy was projected to grow at 6% faster than 2019's growth rate. Nothing seemed poised to stop the growth. And then came the strongest exogenous shock we have ever seen, the novel coronavirus, proving once again that we never know what's going to happen next. The country experienced for the very first time in decades a technical recession with negative second and third quarter GDP prints. Despite the grim situation, the Access Pension Plan Scheme brought in a total investment return of 18.31%. The 2020 investment return represents 8.38% above average inflation. The scheme's benchmark is to exceed inflation by at least 5%. The scheme's net asset value increased from 77 million Ghana cedis to 130 million Ghana cedis, with total inflows of 58.4 million, benefit payments of 18.5 million, and net investment income of 16.1 million Ghana cedis. In 2020, we were relentless in our financial literacy and education campaigns. When it became apparent that we could not engage our clients face-to-face, we took our campaigns online. We were the first financial institution to deliberately and consistently drive financial literacy education online. Through the Access Smart Money Talk, we brought to our stakeholders about 24 different education sessions in all, reaching about 25,651 people. And we believe some of you in the audience here join us on those smart calls. And you have made a decision to continue to invest for your future, something you must be proud of. You're doing this not only for yourself, but for your family and your dependents. We do this out of duty and devotion to our mission of inspiring you to achieve financial peace of mind. The pandemic has also accelerated deeper trends from inadequate savings and growing retirement savings shortfall. The pandemic has reiterated the old wise advice that everyone requires 3 to 12 months in emergency funds. It is only after the emergency fund bag is secured that one can really invest for the long term. We believe it is within every individual who draws income to take ownership of their financial future. Saving for retirement requires a lot of self-discipline and sacrifices in the face of many pressing short-term goals. Perhaps it is because of this difficulty why few people, irrespective of how much they earn during their working life, are unable to enjoy their retirement. It should not be difficult if we allow the complementary Tier 3 retirement savings schemes adjusted yearly to reflect wage inflation increases to fulfill our retirement needs without any interruption. To encourage our members to think and invest long-term, we have enhanced the Access Pension Plan with the free 5,000 life insurance cover. We are the first and only financial services company to offer this to all our clients. This is free for every member once you have signed on to our schemes. You don't have to make an extra contribution to enjoy this 5,000 Ghana cedis life insurance cover. We put our members at the heart of all that we do, and this is yet another example of how we believe we can help our clients to invest long-term, knowing temporary life setback will be taken care of with the life insurance payoff. And we actually encourage you to get in touch with your relationship managers so you can increase this life cover if you wish to do so. Our commitment to invest in technology to ensure we provide you convenience and utmost confidentiality whilst investing for retirement was further accelerated in 2020 under our digital transformation agenda. We're happy to say that Access is a 360-degree digitally aligned business with service platforms on mobile app, USSD, WhatsApp, Telegram, and our web-based CRM portals. By dialing *1860# *1860 or sending hi to 0261860 hi to 0261860 Our WhatsApp chatbot, Afrakuma, will be on hand to attend to every request from your account opening to withdrawal. To complement our service platforms, our call center has also been equipped to provide you the needed assistance for 14 hours each day, between 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. And so you can come back home after a hard day's work and from the comfort of your home, reach out to our customer service center and inquire about your retirement savings. We encourage you to explore all our digital channels to ensure you are close to us. This is your right. On behalf of the Board of Trustees, I thank all participating members for your continued trust in our stewardship. I wish you well and do stay safe. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. And that is Mr. Robert Benning, Chairman for the Board of Trustees of the Access Pension Plan. Ladies and gentlemen, again, you are joining the second annual open forum of the Access Pension Plan, and we would like you to be active participants of this forum. And so kindly put up any question that you may have in our Q&A chat box, and we will respond to them accordingly. We will now be joined by a representative from the National Pension Regulatory Authority. He is actually the Director for Research, Monitoring and Evaluation at the authority, and he is in the person of Mr. Ernest Amate Vondi. Mr. Martin Vondi will join us online to give us a message from the National Pension Regulatory Authority.
Good morning. Jeff, thank you for introducing me to the meeting. Mr. Chairman, members of the Board of Trustees, management and staff of Axis Pensions Trust, all people assembled over there, I send you greetings from the Chief Executive Officer and the management of the National Pensions Regulatory Authority. It has been the wish of the Chief Executive Officer of MPRA to join you and be present, but we've been held up an equally important assignment in the Eastern Regional Capital of Florida, to deliberate on some issues that will advance the course of the pensions industry and the regulator's office. So he's unable to join us, but he sends in his greetings and his best of wishes to the meeting. Now, I want to also express my personal congratulations to Axis for their transparency in the management of affairs relating to the various pension schemes that you administer. You've always given invitation to the regulator's office to be present at such interactions, and I think it has been useful and positive. Of course, for us in the regulator's office, we cherish it because Axis is a leader in the pension industry in Ghana, and indeed one of the companies that we are most proud of, particularly when we are talking about issues relating to your digitization, your transparency, amongst others. And my hope and prayer is that that continues well into the future. You requested the regulator's office to make some few remarks about the health and prospects of Ghana's pension system. Of course, it is useful to make such remarks because our expectation is that someday we all grow old and live our active working life. When we get to that stage, we want to have that comfort that what we have worked for during our active working life is available to take care of us whilst we grow old and wait to go to our maker. In the remarks made by the earlier speakers, I think that recognition was made of the fact that gradually the traditional systems that we have in our part of the world that support us when we exit our active working life into retirement have become a bit unreliable because a whole lot of factors tend to affect the way we operate. Yes, I'm talking about the extended family system, which has come under extreme strain because of development, industrialization, because of urbanization, because of migration, and so on. So it hasn't become as reliable as it is. As a result, the pension schemes have taken the center stage in providing retirement income security for all of us. And going into the future, I'm sure that trend will continue. All over the world, the issue of pensions are taken very seriously. And you will observe that pension funds have always played a very key and instrumental role in the financial service industry in every country. If we look at a few statistics that will tend to emphasize this point. Now, if you look at the figures that are released by the International Organization of Pension Supervisors, it mentions that as at the end of the year 2019, and the 2020 figures are still being compiled, the world had private pension funds to the tune of $32 trillion in assets. That is huge. And so it influences the various financial markets. If you look at the very big markets, you observe that a good number of them, yes, are in the developed world. But the developing world is also making a lot of strides. I could mention a few, just for the purpose of emphasis of the point that I'm making. Now, if you look at, for instance, in Australia, they have about $1.77 trillion US dollars in terms of pension assets, and that forms about 132% of their GDP. You look at Canada, they have 1.53 trillion US dollars in pension assets, forming 89.1% of their GDP. You look at the Netherlands, they have 1.746 trillion US dollars in pension fund assets, that forming 191% of their GDP. Likewise, United Kingdom, the UK, they have assets to the tune of 3.58 trillion US dollars, forming 123% of their GDP in pension assets. United States has 18.75 trillion US dollars in terms of assets, forming 87.5% of their GDP. Back home in Africa, you observe that we are also growing. Egypt, for instance, has 4.87 billion US dollars in terms of pension assets. That's about 1.5% of their GDP. Now, Kenya has 13.071 billion US dollars in assets, forming 13.2% of their GDP. Ghana, as at the end of 2019, we also had 3.18 billion US dollars in terms of private pension assets, that form about 5% of our GDP. Namibia has 10.66 billion US dollars in pension fund assets, that forms about 75.2% of their GDP. All these statistics tend to give the credence to the fact that all over the world, pension fund assets have become useful and relevant and have become a real force in pushing for economic development, also giving some retirement security to members of the various countries. I'm sure all of us assembled are very much aware that Ghana had embarked on pensions reform, which has been running over the past 11 years. It essentially comprises what we call the three-tier pension system, where the first tier is the one being administered by SNIT that we call the Social Security Scheme. Then we have the second tier, which are occupational in nature, is a work-based scheme, being the second tier. Then the third tier comprising provident fund schemes, which relates more to the employer, and then also the personal pension schemes. Now, for you who have assembled over there, a good number of them may have some knowledge about the features of this schemes that I've talked about, but it certainly wouldn't spoil anything if I mention a few features that affect some of these schemes that we have. If we look at the basic National Social Security Scheme, which is administered by the Social Security and National Insurance Trust, we observe that it's a mandatory scheme for all employees in both the public and private sectors of the economy, but optional for people who are self-employed. Now, you can be a member of that scheme when you are 15 years, and at the maximum age of 45 years for the new entrants, you can also contribute to that scheme. The contribution rate is 13.5% of the employee or the worker's salary, out of which SNIT takes 2.5% and pays to the National Health Insurance Authority for the administration of health insurance for the benefit of the contributors, leaving SNIT with 11% to administer the various benefits that it handles. Now, SNIT so far handles three basic benefits: a pension, a survivor's benefits, which is more like a life insurance, then an invalidity benefit. You need to contribute for an aggregate period of 180 months to qualify for pension under the SNIT scheme. Now, the pension that is paid is linked to the best 3 years of your best 3 years annual salaries by which you contributed to the SNIT scheme. Under the pensions reform, no lump sum is supposed to be paid by SNIT. SNIT is supposed to focus on payment of pensions. But if you do not qualify, that's by contributing for 180 months in aggregate, you are paid a lump sum benefit. Features of the second tier includes a lump sum payment when you get into retirement. Of course, if the good Lord calls you prematurely, the amount that's available is paid to your dependents, and the scheme takes 5% of the worker's salary. It is managed privately, not publicly, and so far they have done pretty well. Now, your accrued benefits under those schemes are preserved until retirement, or if you suffer any physical or mental disability, it can also become payable to you or to your dependents. Your benefits as accrued under the scheme can be ported. You can move the benefits from one employer to the next if you decide to change jobs. And then also, as I've said, death comes to you. It means that benefits are available to pay to your dependents. Now, early withdrawal from that scheme is also permitted. If you became unemployed and you were aged at least 50 years. And of course, for the grounds of invalidity and total and permanent disability, you are paid your benefits. An interesting feature is the fact that the benefits that are accrued under that scheme can be used as security to get a mortgage loan to finance private residence. If you're a non-Ghanaian and you contribute to that scheme, you're allowed to have your accrued benefits if you decide to emigrate from the Ghanaian jurisdiction. The Provident Fund has very similar features, and it is supported by 16.5% of tax exemption on your salary for contribution purposes. And as I said earlier, we also have personal pension schemes, which Axis is a leader as far as the pension industry is concerned. Initially, the focus of the law was to get people who work in the informal sector, who are not part of the mandatory aspects of the three-tier pension system, to make contributions to that scheme. But for those who also work in the formal sector, it gives them the privilege or the opportunity to also to add on to whatever benefits they are going to get from the mandatory aspect, that the first and the second tier. So you can contribute to that even if you work in the formal sector of the economy. Now, to give some security to all who contribute to these schemes, there is a regulator's office, my employer, who oversees the way all these schemes are run, so that that kind of transparency and security will be ensured to all the contributors, and give them that comfort that when they retire, their benefits will be made available to them. So what exactly does the regulator's office do? The most important is the fact that the regulator's office is required to enforce compliance with all aspects of the Act. In addition, we are required to register all the schemes, second, third-tier schemes, and so on, and to regulate the first-tier scheme as the basic national social security scheme. We are also required to carry out a lot of public sensitization about the scheme so that people get to understand the features of that scheme as we get along. We are also open to receive complaints from the public on the management of the schemes that for which they are members, and then to deal with all grievances that pensioners have. An important function is also to advise government on the general welfare of pensioners, and also to promote and encourage the development of the pension industry in Ghana. How have we performed over the past 11 years that we have been in existence? The private sector schemes have done really well. And Axis, I will congratulate you about your performance. The assets, the pension fund assets continue to grow. Now, as at the end of the first quarter of this year, we observed that the pension fund assets have grown beyond 23 billion Ghana cedis, with the private pension funds in excess of 23 billion Ghana cedis. The public scheme, that the SNIT scheme, is about 11.2 billion as at the end of the first quarter, meaning that the private schemes are more than twice larger than the SNIT scheme in terms of the assets that they control. And I believe that that trend is really going to continue. So it becomes relevant that the private schemes continue to do better, continue to handle these funds better, and give all of us the comfort of having a comfortable retirement. Over these 10 years, there has been certain challenges that is worth also mentioning going forward. What are some of the challenges that we have experienced? If you look at the public sector scheme, that is SNIT scheme, it has faced numerous challenges. For instance, their investment performance has not been optimal. Over the past 3-4 years, the real rate of return on investment is barely positive. A good amount of it is in the negative. We also observe that there's huge indebtedness that is inflicting the social security scheme. Now, if you look at their last actual valuation report, it even worries about the contribution rate that is going to the SNIT scheme right now. And they believe that if that is not addressed, the scheme may not be as viable as we anticipate it to be done. Of course, the regulator's office is doing its best to address it, and we hope that at the right time, the right things will fall in place. The private schemes are doing well, no doubt about it, but we also observe certain challenges that is inflicting them that also needs to be solved going forward. For instance, we observe that a good number of them delay submission of their annual audited financial statements. It's a worry to us at the regulator's office. We need to know exactly what is going on as far as the financials are concerned. We also observe some related party investments, which again, we've not been too comfortable about. And we think that that also ought to be addressed. There's also been issue of some skewed investments that we have observed. And I think that also we need to address that. Happily, the challenge that we are facing in terms of some transparency and disclosure issues relating to a good number of the schemes, Axis is right above it. And so even today's event is a testimony to the kind of standards that you are setting for the industry in terms of openness, in terms of transparency and disclosure. And I pray that you continue along that path. Now, in the same vein, we also observe that coverage of the informal sector is pretty low. We hope that that will also be addressed in the private sector schemes. And also the issue of suspense accounts is still inflicting us, and we hope that we'll be able to deal with it as we get along. What is the way forward? I'll make a few remarks about that. Now, part of the expectation from the pensions reform is the fact that individuals are expected to take increasing responsibility for their future retirement, particularly their future pensions. And that's why I'm happy that Axis is a leader when it comes to the personal pension products. And I think we need to continue in that same vein. People need to be educated. People need to be exposed to the details of what is on offer so far as the pension industry is concerned. And I think we need to emphasize that. Let's carry out more public education and let people see the good that Axis has to give and what the good that the private pension industry has to offer. Then, I also believe that the regulator needs to emphasize more also on industry education. Happily, we set up a pensions college, and I hope is that it will live up to expectation in terms of training, exposure, things that the kind of skill that we need to impart to the industry so that we can make the needed progress as we get along. The issue of coverage, the extension of coverage is still a challenge, and I hope that we will do the best that we can, both as the regulator's office and also the practitioners, to extend coverage. A good number of the people who are in the active workforce are in the informal sector, and as I've said, they are not too well informed when it comes to matters relating to financial products. We need to educate them more and let them do more to contribute to their own pensions. I'm happy that Axis has introduced some insurance products to support their pensions provision. That's the right thing to do. And it's one gap that we find in the National Pensions Act as have been omitted. It may really have to be made mandatory at the point. Maybe the review of the law that needs to be looked at. Happily, Axis has started something in terms of life insurance cover for their contributors, and we need to look at. My hope is that the insurance industry will also support the pension industry with the kind of products that helps to promote the pension industry. For instance, making provision for annuity products to be made available. It may also come up that we need to look at the capitalization of the various entities that we regulate, particularly the corporate trustees. Now, if they are appropriately capitalized, then they can attract and retain the kind of skills that will promote the smooth running of the huge monies. For now, as I said, 23 billion Ghana cedis that's in their custody. So they'll be able to do better and be able to offer much better retirement security to our contributors. So the issue of capitalization, we have to look at it again. The issue of indebtedness in the pension industry is quite a significant thing, not just for the first year scheme, but also the private schemes. A good number of employers are not really paying at the rate at which they should. Happily, the regulator's office has been given the power to prosecute such recalcitrant employers. We are beginning to see some results, and I believe that going forward, we should be able to get somewhere. Now, to conclude, I'll congratulate Axis again for your digitalization, your transparency, your openness, and so on. My hope is that you will spread your presence beyond just the major cities, but also into the more the rural areas. They also need some pensions coverage. If you have seen it fit to extend your arm to Malawi, then I'm sure Ghanaians need probably even more pensions insurance than even the Malawians. So look at that going into the future to spread your presence. I pray also that you increase the pace of your presence all over so that people will be able to have access to the good services that you have available. On the whole, I will thank you for inviting us to make some remarks at this event. We appreciate that alliance between us and the regulator's office, and let it continue to be beneficial to all of us going into the future. Thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Amate Vondi. Mr. Amate Vondi is the Director for Research, Planning, Monitoring and Evaluation at the NPRA. And so on that note, ladies and gentlemen, we would like to start with the various presentations for the day. We have noticed questions coming in already, and we encourage that more of you put up more questions. And so questions that have been brought in, we have received them from Emmanuel Dapa, from Isaac Amo, from Abdul Hakim Waya. We will respond to all of these questions in due course. To Christiana, we will respond to all of your questions in due course. We would like to take the first presentation to be made on the scheme's investment strategy, performance, and outlook. Ladies and gentlemen, to bring us this presentation again, I'd like to invite the Chief Investment Officer at Access Pension Trust, Nana Riafe Boama.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Board of Trustees, ladies and gentlemen, and fellow scheme members watching this open forum in the comfort of your offices and homes. It's a great honor to present to you the Access Pension Plan's investment performance for the year 2020 and outlook for 2021. We will first go through the market and economic overview to lay a solid foundation for the performance presentation. Now to the market and economic overview. The global economy in 2020 was greatly influenced by the effect of the pandemic. The disruption in global supply chains, combined with global lockdown measures introduced to curtail the spread of the virus, slowed down the wheels of economic growth globally. Consequently, global growth, according to the World Bank, contracted by 4.3% in 2020. the Ghanaian economy also wasn't spared the effect of the COVID-19 pandemic. The country entered into a technical recession for the first time in 37 years, after contracting by 3.2% and 1.1% in Q2 and Q3 respectively. Despite the heightened economic activities in Q4 due to the general election and festive season, growth ended the year at a 30-year low of 0.4%. Now to the interest rate front. Treasury rate fell, mainly driven by Bank of Ghana's monetary policy easing. And therefore, their activities tend to greatly influence performance of the market. Because of the associated effect of the pandemic on businesses and economic environment, we saw general sell-off on our market, leading to a negative performance of 13.98 throughout the year 2020. And this is like the third time we've seen the market in a negative zone. Now to the investment objective of the Access Pension Plan. The investment objective is to provide stable returns that are commensurate with the investment risk and achieve positive real return across all retirement plans in the long term. Simply put, we want to give you, our investors, at least 5% more than inflation, or do better than a 1-year Treasury bill rate on a 5-year average period. In this table, we highlight significantly our increase in Treasury's allocation as a result of the flight to quality in response of the COVID pandemic. So you see government Treasury bill increasing from 61.5% in 2019 to about 66.3% in 2020, whilst we significantly cut back on our bank's fixed deposit holding. We strategically increased our exposures in equities during the course of the year to lower the average purchase cost of our key holdings, as we believe the general fall in price presented great buying opportunity. As a result, you see equities increasing from 3.5% of the total portfolio in 2019 to about 6.3% in 2020. Over here, we show the composition of the Access Pension Plan asset allocation. About 83.2 million of the total asset under management is invested in Government of Ghana treasuries, followed by 18.7 million, representing 15% invested in local government and statutory agency securities. And these are basically quasi-government securities. Following that is our allocation to bank fixed deposit, making up 18.8% of total portfolio, and then equities, making up 6.3% of the portfolio, then to mutual fund and private equities, respectively. Over here, we show the evolution of the Access Pension Plan AUM. We are happy to say this is the largest personal pension plan on our market. We see assets increasing from about 1 million in 2014 to about 130 in 2020. That is a 130-fold increase. And this is evidence of the Board of Trustees and stewardships of your investment. Now to the main matter, the investment performance of the Access Pension Plan in 2020. The plan brought in a net return of about 18.31 at a global level, outperforming inflation by 8.38%. The long-term return is even more impressive, as the compounded average growth rate of the scheme since inception is about 19.45%. And this 19.45% beat our inflation and the one-year benchmark by a mile. The return of 18.31, however, will be different from what is reflected in members' accounts. The Access Pension Plan applies a life cycle investment strategy where members are allocated to different investment packages based on their age. Clearly, we understand that investment risk and appetite towards risk differs with age. So the scheme has been designed to defaultly place younger investors or younger members in a more aggressive portfolio called a growth portfolio. So members below the ages of 45, you would have experienced a return of about 16% on your portfolio, whilst our members above the ages of 45 would experience 20.63% on the Access Pension Plan in 2020. Now to the economic outlook for 2021 and our portfolio strategy. We believe the global economy would rebound in 2021, and this is evidence from what is already happened. Most global or developed economy has achieved vaccination above 60%, and we believe this will propel economic growth. The IMF is predicting global growth of about 5.4% in 2021, following the contraction of 4.9% in 2020. Ghana's economy is projected to grow at about 5% in 2020. IMF is predicting about 4.5% growth rate. Supporting the growth outlook include vaccine-related optimism. And we know, this hasn't materialized because of the under-vaccination we've experienced as a country. Less than 1 million of our population have been vaccinated. We are also anticipating recoveries in certain key sectors like aviation, hospitalities that were greatly affected by the pandemic. We've seen crude oil price rebounding, and this will have a positive effect or impact on Ghana's growth rate. However, we see major tailwind ahead. Our debt to GDP ratio of 76% presents unique risk to the country's growth. How do we respond to this development in structuring our portfolios going forward? Our portfolio strategy has always been to build a resilient portfolio that will survive multiple economic cycles, whilst we look to take tactical advantages of any dislocation in asset price. In this regard, Government of Ghana intermediate term securities, i.e. the 2 years and the 3-year maturities, shall continue to dominate our total portfolio. We believe this segment of the market offers healthy risk-adjusted return, whilst being liquid enough to support our portfolio management strategy. The fund shall also opportunistically pick up yield on the quasi-government bonds to enhance portfolio return. We look to increase or at worst maintain our allocations to equity in line with our strategic asset allocation. In equities, our preference are companies with very resilient balance sheets, companies that exhibit high returns on equities, leaders in their industries and selling at a discount compared to peers. We believe the general stock market is undervalued, and we will not turn down an opportunity to buy very good companies at exceptional prices or at low prices. We plan to cut back our allocations to corporate bond market, given the uncertainties we see in our market. We shall continue to explore opportunities in alternative assets like private equities and real estate that comes across our radar. Now, I would want to end this presentation with a quote. In the initial years, compounding can test your patience but in the latter years, your bewilderment. We believe if you stay invested in the Access Pension Plan for the long term, you'll be amazed how much wealth you can build and accumulate over your lifetime. Thank you very much for joining us, and thank you, for listening.
Thank you very much. Please let's put our hands together for Nana. Before Nana Riafi, you take your seats, we just have one person, Christiana, who wants you to reiterate your position or what you said earlier on the Edendale exposure. So if you could kindly mention again our position on the Edendale exposure. Thank you.
So thank you very much, Christiana. So, the schemes or the Access Pension Plan invested in Edendale. Edendale is a private real estate development company that defaulted on their bond obligation. And as a result, the scheme has impaired the investment in Edendale. However, we've been working with Edendale to get the scheme restored. So to reiterate, what I said, we see, difficulties in Edendale paying back the amount owed to the scheme within the shortest possible time. And therefore, what the Board of Trustees have done is to engage a third-party investor who has agreed to buy off that debt from the scheme. If this transaction goes through, the amount owed to the scheme by Edendale will be transferred to this third party, which would imply Edendale will no longer owe the scheme, but owe that third party. We are far advanced in deliberation with that party, and in that regard, like I said, we've received a first installment of amount owed by Edendale to the scheme. We expect the second and third installment in October this year and February next year. And if those installments comes through, the scheme would have settled, or Edendale would have settled the amount owed to the scheme. So that is about the Edendale situation. The credit risk has been transferred to a third party, and the third party has already put down a first installment to clear that outstanding liability. We expect the next one in October and February, and when that goes through, we would have no issue with Edendale again. The third party would independently go and chase Edendale for recovery. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Please let's put our hands together for Nana. Thank you, Nana. Nana is the Chief Investment Officer here at Access Pension Trust. Ladies and gentlemen, we are still receiving a lot of your questions and comments, and we encourage you very much to keep them coming in. Just a comment from George Kweku. He says that, in fact, this program is very educative, and we should keep it up. Thank you very much, George. There's a question also from Yebua, who is saying that, thank you very much, Mr. Martin Vondi, for your presentation. Does the regulator exercise the same mandate on SNIT's operation as they do on the private pension companies? What does the regulator do when SNIT's investments underperform, as you indicated in your presentation? Yeboah, thank you very much for your question. We would liaise again with Mr. Martin Vondi, and he would respond to your question. Ladies and gentlemen, we would move on to the next presentation, which is a presentation by the auditors of the Access Pension Plan. It is audited by John K. & Co., and we will take the 2020 financial year report, which will be presented to us by Mr. Gilbert Lomofio, partner at John K. & Co. Please put your hands together for him as he comes.
Thank you very much, and good morning to us all. So I now proceed to read the Independent Auditor's Report to the members of ASE's pension plan. And I begin with the opinion. We have audited the accompanying financial statement of ASE's pension plan, which comprise statement of net asset available for benefit at 31st December 2020, statement of changes in net asset available for benefit, statement of cash flow, and note to the financial statement, which include a summary of significant accounting policies, another explanatory note as set out on pages 24 to 34. In our opinion, the financial statement gives a true and fair view of the financial position of the scheme at 31st December 2020 and its financial performance and cash flow for the year ended in accordance with international financial reporting standards in the manner required by the National Pensions Act 2008 as 766 and the Occupational and Personal Pension General Regulations 2011 LI 1990. Basis for opinion. We conducted our audit in accordance with international standards on auditing. Our responsibilities under those standards are further described in the auditor's responsibilities for the audit of the financial statement section of our report. We are independent of the fund in accordance with International Code of Ethics for Professional Accountants, including the International Independent Standards issued by the International Ethics Standards Board for Accountants, and we have fulfilled our other ethical responsibilities in accordance with the code. We believe that the audit evidence we have obtained is sufficient and appropriate to provide a basis for our opinion. Now, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to crave your indulgence to skip reading the responsibilities of the trustees and those of the auditors and proceed to read the key audit matter. Thank you. In accordance with the ICES, this part of our report is intended to describe matters communicated with those charged with governance that we have determined in our professional judgment were most significant in the audit of the financial statement. The first matter is income recognition. The scheme generates income largely from the investment of the assets of the scheme made up of members' contributions, as well as the undistributed portion of the asset of the scheme brought forward from the previous accounting period. Some of these investments straddle the end of the accounting year under review, and hence a key consideration for the appropriate recognition of income of the scheme is the cut-off date. The income of the scheme for the year should be recognized only if they accrue or are derived during the year up to and including the year-end date, being 31st December 2020. Income that accrues beyond this date should be recognized in the following accounting year. To ensure that in recognizing income, the cut-off dates have been taken into consideration, the audit team performed the following procedures. 1. Reviewed the design and implementation of the scheme's income recognition procedure to determine the accuracy of controls over the scheme's investment valuation procedures and income recognition at the year end. Obtained evidence of the existence and accuracy of interest income thereon of a sample of significant investment whose maturity date are after the year end by reviewing their particulars and recomputing the expected year-end interest income. And finally, evaluated the adequacy of the accounting policies and the disclosures on income recognized in the scheme statement of changes in net assets available for benefit. The second issue is impact of COVID-19. The COVID-19 global pandemic had an impact on almost all sectors of the economy within which the scheme operates during the year under review. For the purposes of ensuring that amount and disclosures made in the financial statement show a true and fair view, having had regard to the effect of the pandemic, management was expected to reassess the assumptions and judgment underlying estimates made and their related disclosures, and to recognize an expected credit loss or an impairment of assets where, as a result of the pandemic, such a loss or impairment must be recognized in accordance with international financial reporting standards. The audit team performed the following procedures to ensure that the effects of the pandemic have been taken into consideration in preparing the financial statement. 1. We assess the level of compliance with the policies and directives from Government of Ghana and the National Pensions Regulatory Authority on the pandemic which are applicable to the operations of the scheme. We reviewed the credit risk assessment of the scheme's assets as a result of COVID-19 and reviewed the adequacy of procedures performed to determine the impairment provisions made. And finally, we re-performed the procedures to determine the accuracy of the level of expected credit loss and impairment recognized in the financial statement. Report on other legal and regulatory requirements. We have obtained all information and explanation which, to the best of our knowledge and belief, were necessary for the purpose of our audit. In our opinion, proper books of account have been kept by the fund so far as appears from our examination of those books. The audit opinion was signed by John Armstrong Yao Klinogo, whose practice number is ICAG/P/1116, and he did so for and on behalf of John K. and Co., which practice number is ICAG/F/2021/128, and it was signed on the 27th of April 2021. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Gilbert. Please let's put our hands together for Mr. Lomofio. And we notice and recognize the various comments and feedback we are getting online. An interesting one by an unknown attendee is saying that please, I don't seem to appreciate all the technicalities and the language that you are using. He's saying that, so please, how do you break down portfolio and percentage in real terms for me to understand? Thank you for the feedback. So I would kindly encourage our presenters to try as much as possible to break down the terminologies that they will be using. But in any case, if there's any presentation that you don't understand, or if there's a particular thing that you would like for us to speak a bit more to, kindly put it up directly and we would respond to it accordingly. Otherwise, you can call our call center on 0302 738 555, 0302 738 555, and we'll be happy to give you clarity to the question that you may have. Josephine is also saying that thank you for this opportunity. It is very much appreciated. And there's a couple of questions that, before we continue with the rest of the presentations, I'll also read out and I'll invite our general manager to speak to. The first one is from Mr. Ebenezer Dapa. He's saying that, am I eligible to a loan if I don't have to take money from my account? The next question is from Mr. Isaac Amo, who is saying that I would want to find out from if the Access Pension Plan assists the contributor to acquire a house. And the next one is from Abdul Hakim. He says that the 1860 code is not working with Vodafone numbers. Why can't you pay? And the second question is, why can't you pay contributions with Vodafone cash? The last one is from Mr. Isaac Ebo Newton, and he's saying that he signed on to the CEDA pension and has moved on to another pension scheme with a different trustee, and he is asking if he can contribute directly to the CEDA scheme even though his employer is not with Access. Ladies and gentlemen, to help us put a bit of clarity to some of these questions, I'm happy to invite the General Manager of Access Pension Trust, Pa Kofi Yankoma, to respond. Please put your hands together for him.
Thank you very much, Jeff. And in this era of making things simple, I'll try and make the answers pretty simple in layman's terms. So the first question was from Mr. Ebenezer Dapa. Am I eligible to a loan if I don't want to take money from my accounts? Yes. In fact, no. Currently, you are not eligible to take a loan from your personal pension account. But I'll take this as feedback. I think it's come up in a number of discussions. We'll take it as feedback and work on providing our clients that option of taking loans from their Access Pension Plan accounts in future. So this would be an action we would look at working on. The next question from Mr. Isaac Amo. I would want to find out if Access Pension assists the contributor to acquire a house. The good answer is yes. And indeed, the law guarantees us or requires us to do that. So the law says that you could use your pensions account as collateral for a primary mortgage. Access is not a mortgage house, but what we do is we facilitate your acquisition of that mortgage facility. The MPRA, I think Mr. Amati Vondi is on the line still, insists that the payment is not made to a developer, it is made to a mortgage house. So there are certain documents that you'll be required to provide. That will be submitted to the MPRA for approval. Once the approval is given, you can have access to the mortgage. So, yes, Access facilitates that. The 1860 code is not working with Vodafone. Please, I must apologize. The 1860 currently works on MTN only. I'm also happy to say that we are in the process of integrating with Vodafone so that the 1860 works on Vodafone. Unfortunately, we've had challenges with Airtel Tigo. We are still exploring that option also. So for our current telcos we're working with, it's only MTN. But in the short to medium term, we expect Vodafone to come on board, whilst we work also to see if we can find a middle ground with Airtel Tigo. Somebody was asking, I think Mr. Isaac Bonewton was asking on the CEDA fund. He signed on to the CEDA fund and wants to contribute directly, personally. Unfortunately, the CEDA fund is an occupational pension scheme. So if you want to contribute personally, it is good you are on this forum, the Access Pension Plan Open Forum. Now, that allows you to contribute personally on your own, either through payroll deductions or from your bank account. So that option is given. For those who currently want to contribute on Vodafone or any other network, we have an option with Zenith Bank. So by dialing *966*3*1860#, let me take that again, *966*3*1860#, you can contribute on any other network apart from, even on MTN or any network, directly into our custody accounts at Zenith Bank. I think I've done justice to the questions. If there are more, thank you.
Thank you very much, Fakofi. So I believe that for all of you who asked questions, we have responded to it accordingly. Like I mentioned, some of the questions we will respond to it online, and if the questions require that our panelists and presenters come up to speak to it, we will do so as well. Ladies and gentlemen, we'd like to continue with the presentations. The next presentation is on the scheme's governance, and this will be done by the Chief Legal Officer here at Access Pension Trust in the person of Mrs. Louisa Siao. Please, let's put our hands together for Louisa.
Good morning. Good morning to our Board of Trustees. Good morning to our service providers, and good morning to our scheme members. And welcome to the second open forum for the Access Pension Plan. Now, as has been the practice each year, we organize this open forum in order to get closer to our scheme members and to share some initiatives that have been put in place for your benefit. Last year, our CEO gave you a presentation on the various customer service enhancements that had been put in place to bring you closer to us, especially during the COVID period. This year, the topic we've chosen is on pension scheme governance, and your Board of Trustees and Access Pension Trust see the importance of good pension scheme governance, because this is directly linked with the good performance of your fund, which inevitably benefits you as scheme members. Now, the principles that your Board of Trustees as well as Access Pension Trust use are three: trust, transparency, and accountability. And these three principles we try to live by each day through our people, our structures, and our processes. Now, you've been introduced to your Board of Trustees. Their profiles are on our website, and you will be able to tell that they come from various sectors of the industry. We have CFA holders, HR, investment bankers, top banking professionals, And not only are they very qualified, they are also of very high moral repute, and they fit the role for which they've been appointed to. This is very critical in order that they formulate good policies that improve the overall performance of the scheme. They also make sure that your service providers comply with all the terms and policies, not just of, for instance, the investment of our investment policy, but also with all laid down procedures of our regulator through the Act and the regulations. Another good initiative that your Board of Trustees have come up with is the formulation of a disclosure of conflict policy. Now, the essence of this policy is that any decisions that come to the Board of Trustee level is expected to be discussed with the interests of beneficiaries at heart. And if there's any trustee who has an interest in any such decision, that trustee is bound by a duty to disclose. Your trustees will then take a decision on whether that particular trustee or trustees should be involved in the decision making. This, the world over, is seen as a very good policy which improves transparency and also accountability and builds a relationship of trust between scheme members and your Board of Trustees. Now, also in the spirit of transparency and accountability, we are a regulated sector in the pension space, and we disclose to our regulator issues of scheme importance. So, for instance, Mr. Riafi updated us on the scheme's exposure to Edendale, the mitigation measures and resolution measures. These have been, our regulator has been duly informed, and this is also part of our principle in being accountable to our regulator. We ensure compliance with all our monthly, quarterly, and annual obligations to the regulator. We pay our fees on time, and this is all to your benefit, because if the schemes are fined, it inevitably goes to the detriment of scheme members. The other way in which we are accountable to you as scheme members is by providing you with a quarterly fund fact sheet. We also do this through our continuous client engagements. We have now set up an alert system where when you contribute to your fund, you get a notification to tell you that this amount has been contributed on your behalf. Mr. Riafi mentioned at our other open forum how Access Pension Trust is one of the very few companies whose annual report is published on our website. This is also something that we are doing in the spirit of transparency and accountability to you as scheme members. Additionally, we have set up an internal audit and risk function. The purpose of this function is to ensure that not only are we governing your scheme properly, but we're also taking the initiative and being preventive. The head of internal audit and risk, Mr. Selom Day, who will be presenting after me, his role is to identify any possible areas of risk, put in place measures to prevent such risk, or even if such risks do occur, to set up mitigation measures in managing the risk so that whatever impact there is very minimal, if any at all. We also use this open forum as a measure to solicit ideas and feedback from you, our scheme members, and this year is no exception. And given the topic of scheme governance and risk management, we are more than happy to receive any feedback or any suggestions that you may have in respect of governing your scheme and also mitigating risk associated with this job that you've entrusted us with. Without much further ado, I'll invite Mr. Selom Day, who's our Head of Internal Audit and Risk, to share with you our risk mitigation measures and preventive measures. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Louisa, our Chief Legal Officer. Good morning to everyone. I'm here to present on our risk management measures in Axis concerning the Axis pension plan. At Axis, our first point of risk management is to identify who our various stakeholders are, and you, members of this scheme or Axis pension plan, are our most important stakeholder. After recognizing who our stakeholders are, we need to identify your needs and satisfy your needs. Also, the objectives of Axis Pension Plan as a scheme is very important to us as far as risk management is concerned. We also, after doing that, communicate in a form and within a time frame that facilitates management decision making and day-to-day operations. Now, the key areas of risk that we consider as far as this pension plan is concerned are scheme governance and management, scheme investments, administration processes, as well as communication with members. These areas are very important. As my colleague just indicated, as far as scheme management and governance are concerned, various initiatives and activities are ongoing in terms of enhancing trust, accountability, and transparency. Our job at Internal Audit and Risk is to ensure that these various initiatives are really what is reflective on the ground, and that the various measures of ensuring transparency, accountability are taking place as far as the Axis Pension Plan is concerned. Also, our Chief Investment Officer spoke extensively about the various investments being undertaken under the scheme. It is our job as risk managers to ensure that our risk policy is aligned with that of the regulator to ensure that the various thresholds and risk, investment categories are complied with to ensure that the Axis Pension Plan is adequately protected as far as risk is concerned. Also, in terms of administration processes, how are contributions processed, recorded, and reported, how are redemption processes undertaken. All the various activities under administration come with different kinds of risk. And so our job as risk managers is to ensure that the various risks that accompany administering the scheme are mitigated and managed adequately. Also, our communication to the regulator and also our communication to you, the scheme members, is very important to us to ensure a better customer experience. And so the various risks that accompany communication are mitigated and managed well to ensure that regulatory fines, as our Chief Legal Officer mentioned, are prevented. Now, in terms of our approach, as I indicated, identifying our various stakeholders is very important to us. That helps us to put in place systems and processes to identifying the various risks the scheme faces. And after identifying the risk, it is important that we evaluate these risks and prioritize them. How do we do that? We are able to identify or analyze the likelihood of some of these risks occurring and the impact they may have if they do occur. This helps us to prioritize them and ensure that the risks that have huge impacts do not occur at all. And so in doing that, we put various mitigation measures in place, such as documenting these risks and then reviewing them on a regular basis. This helps us to put adequate controls in place to manage them. Also, we did not stop there, but we embark on a quarterly or regular review of these controls to ensure that they are very effective in managing the various risks and also in taking account of these risks. Now, these regular reviews or audits that we undertake emanate from an annual audit plan that basically has an objective of ensuring that the scheme is properly governed in a transparent manner through regular regulatory compliance, frequent member engagement, independence and accountability, of service providers, as well as policy formulation. Also, an annual audit plan ensures that the investment policy for investing the assets of Access Pension Plan complies with regulatory guidelines at all times. And also, our plan ensures that internal policies for the administration of the scheme, including redemption and contribution processing, are complied with at all times to eradicate the risks inherent in these processes. We also have internal guidelines in place that ensure that risk is mitigated as far as administering the scheme is concerned. We also ensure that there is adequate communication with members, as well as the regulator of all delays in remittances, as well as changes in service providers, amongst others. And this comes under the communication aspect of risk management. In addition to our audit plan and other initiatives that we embark on in terms of risk management, we also have a quarterly risk assessment in place. And this helps to continually review exposure to new and emerging risks. Risk is not static. As you can tell, during Corona or COVID-19, because of the advent of COVID-19, working processes have been disrupted. Most organizations have migrated to remote working. And with this comes different risks or new and emerging risks in the IT and cyberspace. I'm happy to inform you that in Access, as part of our risk management and mitigation measures, we have fortified our IT control system. And so we've improved our systems in order to mitigate or counteract the various risks that come with remote working. We've also put in various initiatives in place to ensure and enhance customer experience as far as IT innovation is concerned. Also, our quarterly and regular risk assessments helps to prepare the grounds for an annual detailed analysis of our risk management framework. And this is very important because on an annual basis, we need to review our framework of risk management to ensure that it's fit for purpose and meets the objective of our scheme. In that way, your contributions are well protected and the Access Pension Plan is current and able to meet the different risks year on year. And all this helps to protect your investment. So thank you very much. In conclusion, this is a snapshot of our risk management process as far as Access Pension Plan is concerned. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Salom. Salom is our head of risk and internal audit. So the questions continue to keep coming, and we are happy to interact with you. An interesting one is from Bridget. Bridget agrees with our earlier texter that the technical languages are a bit too much. And so I'll encourage anybody, including Bridget, who thinks that these are too technical a language that we are using, to follow us on all our social media handles. We do break down most of these technicalities on our social media handles so that you can appreciate the work even better. So we will drop a link in the chat box so that you would use that link to follow us on all our social media handles. Ladies and gentlemen, we also want to take a few questions as well. We'll call back the general manager here at Access Pension Trust to respond to Mr. Godfred David's question, which says that, am I eligible to receive some payments from my contribution when I am retrenched or unemployed? Pakofi.
Thank you very much, Godfred. It's a very dicey question because if we are talking about the Access Pension Plan, yes, it's a voluntary scheme. So if you are contributing on pre-tax basis, of course, you would forfeit 15% as tax of the amount you request for. But if it's on after-tax basis, under the Access Pension Plan, being a voluntary scheme, you can take your benefits without any tax penalties, of course, apart from the penalties that Access has in-house. If it's under an occupational pension scheme, also a voluntary Tier 3 occupational pension scheme like the Cedar Provident Fund, what it is that your company's vesting rules would apply. So I am sure as a company, whichever institution, maybe you should give us a bit more details. We are able to assist you. So I would encourage you to give us a call on our call center. Jeff shared the numbers earlier, 0302-738-555. Somebody would assist you directly to answer your specific question. But on the general front, yes, under the Access Pension Plan, you can withdraw. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Pa Kofi. The next question is from Mr. Agent, and the question is, please, why do you give or pay different interest rates on pension retirement plans using ages? Ages less than 45 getting less, and ages above 45 getting more, as indicated in your presentation. I would call our Chief Investment Officer to explain the investment plans. Please, let's put our hands together for Nana Wiafi.
Thank you very much for your question. My CFO is telling me no technicalities, so I'll break it down in a language you understand. So the Access Pension Plan has two different plans, what we call the retirement plan. We have the risky retirement plan called the growth retirement plan, and the less risky one called the preservation retirement plan. So the growth retirement plan has equities in the investment mix, right? Equities are shares that are traded on the Ghana Stock Exchange. And the preservation does not have any equities. And this basically, accounts, right, for the return differences between the two retirement plans. So in a year where the stock market, does very well, you should expect the growth retirement plan to do better than the preservation retirement plan. So yes, the returns between the two retirement plans will never be the same because of the investment mix. Now, why do we do this? We do this because we believe investment risk and the preference towards risk differs amongst individuals. So naturally, people who are younger are able to take more risk in achieving a certain set goal compared to our older folks. For the Access Pension Plan, thankfully, when you are enrolling, you have the option to opt for which retirement plan you prefer, whether the growth or the preservation. However, if you don't tell us which plan you want, we put you into a default plan based on your age. So if you are enrolling, you are 28 years old, and you don't tell us which plan you want, we'll naturally put you into the growth plan on the basis that you are younger and you can bear more risk, given that you have more time to retirement, and therefore your ability to ride the storm is better than the older folks. So that is what accounts for the return differential. And let me also emphasize that we don't do this because Access want to do this. It is the requirement of our pension law. The pension law requires that we put different members of our scheme into different retirement plans based on their choices or based on their ages. So we don't do this because we just want to be innovative. We do this because the law requires of us to do that. And I'm also happy to tell you, in the industry, we are the only one doing that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Nana, what is equity?
So equities are shares, right? Shares are ownership stakes in companies. In Ghana, we have the Ghana Stock Exchange, where all companies' shares are traded. So when we say, equities or shares, all we are referring to are the companies listed on the stock exchange. So there's EcoBank Ghana, there's Stanchart, there's MTN, there's Enterprise Group. These are all companies listed on the stock exchange. And if you have a little idea, about finance, you'd realize equities are a bit volatile, i.e., when you buy shares in a company, the share price can go up or go down depending on the performance of the economy, the performance of the company, and the sentiment of investors. I don't know whether I've answered the question, Rachel. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Nana. Thank you. I was going to ask you again, what is share price? But I think that would be too much, right? So, ladies and gentlemen, all too soon we have come to the end of our open forum. Before we officially bring it to a close, I would like to recognize the presence of our member-nominated trustee who has joined us in the person of Mr. Akwesi Sapon. Please let's put our hands together for Mr. Sapon. We did indicate that you should join us on our social media handles, and so we have put the link to our various social media handles in the chat box. Kindly follow us, and then if you have any questions that you want us to respond to, please feel free to reach out to us on our social media handles or call our office on 0302 738 555. We would like to also remind members that you can go on our online portal or download our Access Pension app and update your beneficiary details. We very much encourage and require that you update your beneficiary details, especially for those who have not done so in a long while. You can do this either on our online portal or do this via the mobile app. The mobile app also allows you to have access to your account and also make contributions as well as make redemption requests. If you also want to engage with us, you can also, like Pakofi mentioned, engage with us on our WhatsApp page, Afrakoma. We will put the numbers on the screen so you can save and engage with us on WhatsApp as well. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for your time. We have come to the end of our second annual open forum for members of the Access Pension Plan. We want to continue to say that we remain committed to serving you, and we very much encourage you to engage with us at every point in time so we can serve you better. We would like to close with a prayer, and I'm happy to invite Mr. Enes Atema to pray with us even as we close. A round of applause for him, please. Please let's put our hands together for Mr. Enes Atema.
Auntie Mary, give me fufu 10 cedis, Willie 6 cedis, goat meat up.